Jimmy G. Yeah, that dude's all right.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the January 6, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Benched, the app. Never take a zero, never get a goose egg because you left a non-starting player in your fantasy lineup. Download Bench the app today and dominate your fantasy season as I have. The guys who invented Bench the app invited me to join their fantasy football league. As of yesterday, I was their champion. So I'm wearing the crown. So check out Benched the app, and we'll talk more about that going forward into 2025. So before we look at, there's not a whole lot to break down in terms of this Ram game, except I'll say this. It's a shame historically that people are going to see the Rams and Seahawks in 2024 had identical 10-7 records, right? That's where it's going to be. Oh, the Seahawks were close. The Rams lost yesterday, but really, if the Rams wanted to win that game, I don't think it would have been close. I think these teams were closer a couple months ago when the Rams beat them on that Demarcus Robinson touchdown, playing up at Lumen Field, the advantage of being there in Seattle, winning on the road. But by the time we got to the end of the season, hey, the Seahawks were still playing. Geno had money to earn, so he's out there playing. DK Metcalf is playing. Leonard Williams is playing. Charles Cross at left tackle, he's playing. Zach Charbonnet is playing. These guys were playing to win. Byron Murphy was playing, and the Rams lost by 5 points with their JV squad, and they had a shot. We didn't get a look, and I'm kind of ticked off about it. We didn't get a look along that line of scrimmage, and I'm sure the officials had it right. But when they who did they tag? Keir Thomas for the offsides. That Cam Kitchens, of all the guys, Cam Kitchens recovers that fumbles right into his hand there, and it's just another case of Kitchens with his picks, maybe getting a fumble there. That game, Rams win that game with their JV squad. And, yeah, these teams are 10-7. Rams go because of the tie break and all that. But clearly the Rams were the superior team. And again, optimism, no matter what happens through the rest of January, just optimism going forward for this Ram team. And maybe, just maybe, we'll learn how to dial down the KBM and probably 85% of the Rams podcasts out there, not this one, but turn them down when they, oh my God, it's 0-2. Teams that are 0-2 have a 75% chance of not making the playoffs. You would play a 17-game season now. The new metric, they're 1-4. No 1-4 team, dial it back and look at it. It's a long season. And then also look at the schedule. Look who's coming back. I think we kept our heads here. I think there were times we were frustrated. I think I was most angry after the Dolphins loss, and then the Bears loss ticked me off too, because those were just great opportunities. The worst I was after a win might have been the Raider game, but I think Sean McVay was as angry or angrier after that Raider game. And then that's when everything changed. About 4 days later, they came out and played their potential. Philly game didn't bother me. Bills game was a freebie. Yesterday's game was a freebie. But you look at this Ram team, and I think that's what makes it hard sometimes, is that you look at this team and you look at, oh my gosh, look at the potential here. Going into the season, looking at the schedule, I got some pushback even yesterday from my Mid-Valley Sports guys. I said high end for the Rams was 13-4. And I said low end would be 11-6. And if they wanted yesterday to finish 11-6, the Rams would have finished 11-6. That's how much better than the Seahawks they were. And again, running out there, without Darius Williams, without Cam Curl. Quentin Lake played 10 snaps. Byron Young, Jared Verse, Kobe Turner, Fisk. I think all those guys played maybe 10 to a dozen snaps. And of course, the makeshift offensive line going against Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, and everyone else. So a lot of optimism here. I think Frisco's going to have some hard looks at itself. I think Seattle needs to – I think they just need a few better players, but they need a quarterback. And then, of course, the ace in the hole, which is an improving Cardinal team. The ace in the hole for the rest of the NFC West is the Cardinals likely are going to be stuck with Kyler Murray, and he's just not that guy. We've been saying it for 6 years. He's not that guy. And or 5 years. 2019? 5 years. Okay. And or 6 years. He's just not. He's a splash player. So anyway, optimistic for the Rams. In regarding the Seattle game, Seattle did play to win. So because Seattle played to win this game, and good for them, they got 10 wins, rookie season for Coach McDonald. They fired their OC, Ryan Grubb, today, the guy that they brought in from Washington University. And people are thinking Grubb's going to go to Alabama. I don't know if it was their play calling. I really don't. I think it was Geno Smith throwing picks in the red zone, and I think it was their offensive line. So let's blame the OC. Maybe there was personality stuff there or whatever. But Seattle was playing to win, so we get a good evaluation against the Rams' backups who played, that they weren't going against third stringers, undrafted free agents, guys in week 3 of preseason about to get cut. So Jonah Jackson had an excellent game at right guard. That is like terrific news for the Rams because, he's going across a first-round draft pick. Leonard Williams is having a Pro Bowl type year. I don't think they put him in the Pro Bowl, but Leonard Williams had a great year. And Jonah Jackson played really well. So that's a good sign for the Rams. Healthy, getting his feet back under him. So that's a healthy sign. Warren McClendon had a really solid job at right tackle. I think we know what Warren McClendon is. He's not a left tackle. He's a right tackle. And he had an excellent game. And even Joe Noteboom at left tackle was solid. So, again, look what the Rams did. So they got Jonah Jackson, Warren McClendon, and Noteboom playing well. Avila played. I wish he wouldn't have, but he played, and he had a solid game. And then they started the practice squad guy, Dylan McMahon. So we get that. I'm not too caught up in that one, but we got Bo Limmer, who got rest. We got Kevin Dotson, who got rest. One of the Rams' strongest platoons or strongest units heading in to Monday night's playoff game with the Vikings is, guess what? Their offensive line. That's really, really good news. It's a bummer about Blake Corum, but that's really good news for the Rams in the fact that that offensive line is solid right now. The other thing that came out of that game yesterday, Jimmy Garoppolo, who's never been my guy. I've always been anti-Jimmy. And I think I'm anti-Jimmy probably because of nothing he said or done. But I'm one of those guys, and maybe you are. I don't know. And I promise, guys, I'll get to any questions, stuff you guys got going on here in a second. Thank you for clicking on. But Jimmy G was promoted too much as he's this great quarterback. I thought Frisco gave him that extension way too soon. And again, I have this tendency when somebody is crowned before they've won anything to dismiss him. Like I'm like that a little bit with Lamar Jackson. I like Lamar Jackson. And I find myself sometimes rooting against him, not because I'm against him, but I'm against the KBM, the Kiss Butt Media, for anointing somebody as a Hall of Famer, an all-time great, and all this sort of stuff without ever winning anything. And I think we're getting there with Lamar pretty soon. And I think that was my attitude about Jimmy G for a while. And but he looked terrific yesterday. You could see where he's not Matthew Stafford, right? You could see his limitations. But going into a postseason right now where your offensive line is healthy and has a lot of depth, and your quarterback, your starting quarterback, is healthy, and you could tell, Stafford might have been off throwing a few passes the last couple of weeks, especially in week 17. But one thing about Stafford, you saw him moving in the pocket. You saw him moving quite a bit. So you've got that. And then you got Jimmy G, that if Stafford was to get his bell rung, Stafford was to get hurt, you could competently believe. And then you put his starting receivers in there, Nakua, Kupp, and all those guys, and Kyron Williams. You get the impression here that the Rams wouldn't be what they would be with Stafford, but the Rams might be able to win a playoff game with Jimmy G, right? And Jimmy G has won playoff games, so there's depth there. I saw someone arguing that Jimmy G proved to be a flop and they should have gone with Stetson. And I thought, man, someone is smoking something. And Jimmy G, that was an awesome thing to see. The defensive starters played against so a lot of first team guys. Emmanuel Forbes got 52 snaps. That was good. He was okay. But this was a good deal. This was a really good game for the Rams. We knew this wasn't a win or lose situation, but I think the Rams displayed a lot of depth. And if I'm Minnesota, I'm not feeling too comfortable about coming back to Los Angeles after that loss they just had, right? No mysteries to Kevin O'Connell, to Sean McVay. We've already played them with Sam Darnold. And you look at that Detroit defense and how they were all over Sam Darnold. And Detroit's defense, I don't know what they're doing. Purple drink. They got some kind of juice that's going into them because they don't have the talent to be doing what they're doing. Their talent's all banged up, and they made life miserable for Sam Darnold and the Vikings yesterday. Well, the Rams have equal talent, right? And the Rams have better pass rushers right now. Even if Aiden Hutchinson was healthy, the Rams have more depth at rushing the passer. And so I'm not feeling too good if I'm the Vikings about coming to LA, even though they're going to be, I think they are projected by Vegas as favorites. You know, we don't listen to that. So, okay, let's take a look at some of the questions here. You guys have hung on and let me rattle off. And there we go. I appreciate that. Bill, thank you for sticking around. It's playoff time, baby, Bill. Bill, Monday night sucks. You know what I like about it is I don't have to watch the Rams play on Saturday night and then be angry all weekend if things don't work out well. I can go to church and come home and enjoy Sunday for what it is. So the Monday night game doesn't bother me too much. It doesn't bother me too much. Tim Burns, Rams O-line gave up less sacks than the Super Bowl winning O-line. All we wanted was them to keep Stafford upright, and they did. They did. That's a great call, Mr. Burns. They did. You know, it wasn't pretty, right? It wasn't pretty, but they did, you know, and I think Alaric Jackson earned himself some dough, and I'd hate to see him go. I would at this point because you know what you got in Alaric Jackson, right? Doesn't mean we don't draft another tackle, but you know what you got, and I'd hate to see him go. Avila, and then I hope you guys saw Jonah Jackson yesterday. Jonah Jackson did really well. Let's see. Bill. Tyreek Hill calls for a trade and interview. Sad. Yeah, I got a little stuff on Tyreek Hill when we get to around the NFL and other places. Bill, Whittington must get touches. It's obvious the Rams believe in him, and he's an exciting player, right? It's going to be really neat to see how he develops. And I go back and I'll defer to maybe a Steve Ramirez or one of the other guys here in regarding Whittington. I think he was he a 4 or 5 star prospect? He just had injuries at Texas, and it might be the same thing somewhat. I don't think it's a repeat, but you know, why Nakua wasn't considered something more in his draft class. And we know Whittington, you know, Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, you know, Whittington was the afterthought, but I believe he had a lot of injuries that knocked him down. Let's see, Tim Burns. I disagree sitting everyone but Stafford and Kupp. We had something to play for. Kyron and Puka and Alaric would have made the difference. Jimmy and a couple of first would have us playing the Commanders. You know what? Honestly, I got to be honest, Tim, Mr. Burns. I don't think I wanted any part of Washington right now. I know it sounds weird, but I much rather would have had the Vikings or the Packers in the first round than Washington. For something about that, something kind of just scares me a little bit about Washington, at least in the first round, because they don't know what they don't know. That's me. And I'm just glad we are as healthy as anybody right now going into week 19. Neil Gonzalez, I think they should have drawn up some run plays for Jimmy G. What do you think, especially on the last play of the game? My one thing about Jimmy G, I never thought I would be saying this, but this goes back to Friday's show, was every time he got hit, I held my breath, because a couple times he got racked a little bit, and it's like, you know, self-fulfilling prophecy. My fear was, did you see how good Jimmy G played? You feel confident with him in your backup, but what if he's not a stranger to it. What if Jimmy G got hurt? What if Jimmy G got hurt in week 18 and then we go into week 19, first round with Stetson Bennett? But I loved everything I saw there. Tim Burns, Cardi getting confidence with 58 and 57 yarder. He looked like he was ordering in and out. He was solid, wasn't he? Wasn't he? And I don't think you have to worry about his distance. And yeah, I like Cardi. I really do. Tim Burns, you working in some politics on my show, Mr. Burns? Kamala certifying her own loss. Boy, keep it with sports, Mr. Burns. Bill, should the Rams pursue a free agent running back, Kareem Hunt? I don't think Kareem Hunt next year fits the Rams model. I think you're talking next year. I don't think he fits their model. He's got a lot of baggage. Now, maybe some of that's cleaned up. And I don't know if they want to pay him any money. You know, if a guy like him wants to come in for what, 862? Is 862 the bare minimum you can pay a player now? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. You got Rivers for another year. You got Corum going into second year. And I don't think anyone's going to make Rivers an offer. That's a 3-deep running back room. And I think that's pretty confident. You could draft a guy in the 7th round if you want. And heck, I don't know if I mentioned this in my notes here. I'm looking. Did you see where the Jets asked to interview Rams executive Ray Farmer? And Ray Farmer's African-American. If Ray Farmer gets hired as the Jets GM, the Rams get 2 third-round picks as compensation. I hope he gets hired, right? And Rams are feeding off of one of those Raheem Morris comp picks again this year. And so the Rams would get comp picks in 25 and a third rounder also in 26. So something to think about. Tim Burns, I think Schrader should be our backup over Rivers. He has hands at Mo. Missouri. You know, I didn't see him play. In college. The Rams thought a lot about him, right? They signed him very early, right? Second week, or was it first week? They signed him, didn't put him on the practice squad, didn't want him to run through waivers or anything. They kind of stashed him in the active 53, and he got his first rep. So they must think something of him. So yeah, I wouldn't be too quick to dismiss Cody Schrader. That's a good pull there, Tim Burns. Hard no on Hunt by Tim Burns. Not a good dude like OBJ. Thanks, but no thanks. Steve Ramirez, weather app says no rain slated for next Monday. Yeah, I wonder what it's going to be like in Detroit, right? I wonder what it's going to be like in Detroit in the second round. That's funny. Tim Burns, Steeler fan Rob needs a prayer, and a 4-game losing streak is backing into the playoffs. But I'll tell you this, if I was a Steeler fan, and I know you guys think I'm crazy for saying this, and maybe Steeler fan Rob will think I'm crazy for saying this. I think Baltimore's going to be the favorite, but if Mike Tomlin's going in the playoffs and I'm the Ravens, I'm worried about playing Mike Tomlin's team, who's going to be playing us for the 3rd time this year and has played us twice every year that Lamar's been in the league since he really took over in 2019. If anyone has a bead on Lamar Jackson, it's Mike Tomlin, and things change in the playoffs. And I think, people are saying it's an automatic win for the Ravens. The Ravens should win. But can the Steelers put it together against a division foe that they know really well? I wouldn't be quick to write off the Steelers. I think they can win that game, lose the next, and they cut George Pickens and move on to the rest of their lives, right? And but yeah, I don't know, Mr. Burns. I kind of like them. Cool Mug 33. Good to have you, Cool Mug. Thanks for joining us. If you can, please hit subscribe. We appreciate it. If you and Packers, let's see, Cool Mug. If you and Packers win against each other, again, who would win? Cool Mug, honestly, the Rams had a shot against them when the Rams were a depleted lineup. And that was before Cam Kitchens found himself. We were still in that Trey White mire. We were barely getting back. I don't even think we had Darius Williams back. We didn't have Puka. We didn't have Cooper. There were still issues on the offensive line. And I think the Rams had a shot in that game. I really did. They had a shot to beat the Packers. I think the Rams would take the Packers in SoFi. We don't have to go to Lambeau, but the Rams could take the Packers in SoFi. And, since that's the theme of my book, Game Day in the RamCave, available on Amazon, if you want to see a playoff matchup between the Rams and Packers in SoFi, buy my book, Game Day in the RamCave. Thank you for being here, Cool Mug. I appreciate it. Tim Burns, Jimmy G is legit, and he would have won and likely had 450 yards playing with the first teamers. They should keep him. I'm all for him being my number 1 backup. I'm all for that, right? I made a note in my column, FanView today. It's on Mid Valley Sports. If he somehow, say Stafford gets hurt and he goes on a weird, Jeff Hostetler type of run, and he wins the Super Bowl, I want Jimmy G to come back as my backup, but I wouldn't give him frontline money because I think his day is done. Let's see. Tim Burns, 2105 still intact. That's right. I'm sure Eric Dickerson is happy. I'm happy for him. Tim Burns, Lions look hard. Goff is 37-8, last 45 regular season games. Now lose the next game, please. Okay, I'm going to say this about the Lions, and again, I talked about this in my column. I think the Lions have rewritten the book on injuries ruining your season. I think they have. I think it's like, you know what? The Lions could have folded and died, and everyone would have given them a pass except themselves. They've rewritten the book that, you know what? If you want it bad enough, you're going to find a way. And again, give credit to Brad Holmes. Remember, Rams got 2 third-round comp picks for Brad Holmes leaving the Rams to go to Detroit. Give credit to Brad Holmes and his scouting department and Dan Campbell for finding the guys to get them through this, that they don't look like a team that has lost, 12 players to the IR. They don't look like a team that's lost Aiden Hutchinson, Carlton Davis at corner, and Aleem McNeil at tackle. They just look amazing, and they've rewritten the book. So I think when a team comes back and says, oh, we had a lot of injuries, and I've had coaches say that to me ad nauseum, oh, we had a lot of injuries, we got young players. Well, no, that doesn't matter for the Detroit Lions. They find a way. It's really, they've made it, how bad do you want it? And I think it's really, really, really impressive. Steeler fan Rob, that's okay. We know we can beat the Ratbirds, but we're playing terrible right now. I don't know if you got to hear me, Steeler fan Rob. I agree with you. You're playing terrible right now, but you can beat the Ratbirds. You can. This is a familiar opponent. I mean, would you rather play the Chargers, or would you rather play Buffalo or something like that? I think you got a good opponent. You got an opponent you're familiar with, right? And I've seen the Steelers shut down, Lamar Jackson before. If they can just eke out a little more balance, right? 1, Russell Wilson gets to the sideline. 2, Pat Freiermuth holds on to a ball with 20 seconds left to play. And 3, George Pickens plays like he's an adult instead of a child in the NFL game, right? This guy's playing himself right out of the league. And I got to believe the Steelers are just absolutely sick of it. But if those guys can put it together for a quarter and give TJ and that defense a chance and give Tomlin a chance, it is not fait accompli. It is not a done deal that the Ravens win. The Ravens should win, but it's not a good deal. It's not a done deal. Bill, just to interview Ray Farmer for GM job, another 3rd-round pick. 2 third-round picks there, Bill. Onene, good to have you. This is our road to the Super Bowl 59. Yeah. Even Jimmy G makes it possible. ESG, Bill, Carson Wentz, last year rental over the 49ers, but did you see him yesterday with the Chiefs? I did not see him yesterday with the Chiefs. I haven't even looked at his stats. Neil Gonzalez, do the Rams pick a running back? I don't think they're going to pick a running back in the first 3 rounds. I don't see it unless there's something they just really love. Is Scatabo available in the 3rd round? They draft a Scatabo, right? But by and large, I think they like their room. And I think, to me, the exciting part about the Rams is who do they draft between the 5th and the 7th round, right? That's where they score their home runs. And likely they'll draft somebody in there. And we'll see how it plays out. Bill, I was talking about Hunt for the playoffs. He is a free agent. Did they put Kareem Hunt in the street? Did KC put Kareem Hunt in the street? I didn't know that. I did not know. I know they got Pacheco and back, but I didn't know they put Kareem Hunt in the street. That's a new one on me. Onene, I've been prophesying about no one's listening about the Rams winning Super Bowl 59. Maybe you can write a book about my wife's trip to Super Bowl 59. The Lord Jesus. Okay. I'd love to tackle that, starting with the premise of how do I explain how the Rams won Super Bowl 59. I hope that works out. Tim Burns, Steelers have more INTs versus Lamar than Lamar has TDs, so you may be right about Pitt being a worry for the Ratbirds. I don't think it's a giveaway. I just don't think people are already putting dirt on the Steelers' grave. And if they were playing Buffalo, okay, yeah, I can see it. Yeah, if they were playing, maybe not the Texans, but the Ravens, a hated rival, they ain't gonna roll over and die. I don't think so. If I'm Tomlin, I'm bringing back Troy Polamalu to spark the troops a little bit there and knock some skulls. Tim Burns, Great Day in the RamCave is a great read. Grab it, guys, for good juju. Yes, get good juju. Buy that book. ESG, I don't know, but I see Sam Darnold coming down to earth recently. New levels, new devils, right? He never played in a game like that in the NFL, right? In the NFL, he's seeing ghosts with the Jets, wallowing away in Carolina and sitting on the bench in Frisco, and he put it together this year. He's had a great year, but that was essentially kind of like a playoff game, right? But fortunately, when you're in it in week 18, vying for the number 1 seed, you're kind of in a playoff that's a double elimination, and they lost. And so we're going to see. And he looked somewhat mortal against the Rams, right? And so there's a shot here, an absolute shot. Tim Burns, Gibbs drafted as a genius now when they were saying it was a waste with Montgomery already there. That was me. I was going, why are they drafting Gibbs? That was me. I was wrong. There you go. G's nuts. Yeah, I see us beating the Vikings. It was not even a game against the Lions. They got a real gut check and second guessing themselves going into the game next week. I believe it. And they got physical, right? And they got exposed. And do you think the Lions defense might be playing at a level better than the Rams right now? But do the Lions have better talent than the Rams? I got to think Jared Verse and Fisk and Chris Schuler are sitting in the office watching that game last night thinking, we can do that. We can bring that kind of pressure. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting right now. Tim Burns, Joe T, serious question. Why are so many players full melting down and ruining their careers lately? I don't want to go pastoral on you. And I'm not trying to, I'm for everyone making money, right? I have no problem with the rich. It's rich people that hire me, right? I think someone else, I don't know who said that before, but I've heard that. I have no envy of someone making a lot of money. Problem is when you make a lot of money when you're young, you think somehow you're elite. You think somehow your stuff don't smell. Tyreek Hill, a problem is, he's got two emotional addictions here. One, he's got the money and he's going to have that forever until something bad happens. And I hope it doesn't. But the other addiction is, it's like the first line to my book. I think when I wrote this, Tangent Dreams, it's that when somebody wants you, you better appreciate it because they're not always going to want you. And I think that's the first line in this book. And that's about Tyreek Hill. He's 30. And the team that he won a Super Bowl with traded him away, and they've won 2 Super Bowls since then. And they went 15-2 this year. And all he does is whine and cry. And it's like, you know what? I can get another receiver that can do this and just chat. Now, he's incredibly talented. I've never seen a faster player in the NFL, but it didn't make a difference, right? If Tua's not playing, it doesn't make a difference, right? And they have no sense of reality that this is coming to an end. This is going to wind down. There's going to be a time when nobody wants you. And I think the money keeps you from really recognizing that. And I'm sorry for Tyreek Hill. I truly am, because I don't think he's got anybody in his life telling him, bro, or even Jimmy Butler, you could be real cute right now. But you know what? There's going to be a point when you're still going to have your money, but you're not going to have anything else. No one's going to want you, right? You better get on with the rest of your life, or you better grow up. So that's my thought. Neil Gonzalez, picking up a running back free agent for the playoffs. Well, we could grab Ezekiel Elliott, right? I know Corum's out. I know that's why everyone's bringing that up, and I probably should have been thinking about, my mind went to the draft. Ezekiel Elliott, I don't know. I did not know Kareem Hunt was a free agent. That one surprised me. Onene, my wife can tell you all about our Rams winning the Super Bowl 59. She was with the Lord. Okay, all right. Tim Burns, I didn't use Jameis Juju this week, saving it for the playoffs. Yes, bottle that stuff, right? Bottle that stuff. G's nuts. Look at the tape when Hill got arrested for speeding. Yeah, we don't want that in our clubhouse. Tim Burns, I would grab Elliott. About Tyreek, again, he doesn't fit the paradigm that the Rams look for in a receiver, right? You're going to block and you're going to be a team player. Have you heard Kupp chirping about his touches? You didn't even hear OBJ. OBJ was with the Rams for quite a while before he really started getting into a groove, catching the ball, and he didn't chirp. And you start chirping with the Rams, see Ernest Jones. If there's any kind of chirping, this isn't our style of player. And you saw what happened, and you can say whose fault, that fault. My thing is, you listen to a cop, you say yes sir, no sir. You don't jack with them, and if they overreact, okay, they can overreact. You can judge it any way you want, but they're not going to get there unless you allow them to get there. But yeah, you don't see that stuff happening. You saw Demarcus Robinson about a month and a half ago get a DUI at 4 a.m. And the year before that, you saw Darian Kendrick get arrested for having a gun in his car after midnight. And that's about all that you've seen in the McSnead era, right? Rams have a checklist, and I don't think Tyreek Hill would fit that checklist. I don't know if Kareem Hunt would either. So there we go. All right, let's keep going here. Hitting some of the stuff. We did talk about Tyreek Hill. I will talk about this. Kansas City. This is why Kansas City is great. Okay, I know people are. I like an evil empire. I'm okay with KC being great. But Tyreek Hill was getting ready to make big money with the Chiefs. They moved him to Miami. They got 5 draft picks for him. He goes to Miami. He signs a 3-year, 90 rock extension. 59 of those rocks are fully guaranteed. He's a 28.6 rock hit next year. If they try to get rid of him, he's 56 dead cap hit. They are, wow. You're right. So the Chiefs, they move off of him, best receiver in football, fastest man in football, and they're winning titles with McCole Hardman, Valdez Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster. They're winning titles with a 7th round Isaiah Pacheco. This is why the Chiefs are great, right? And now it's the Dolphins' headache. And they got a problem. I don't care about injuries. I think the Lions showed injuries. What are you going to do about it? But when the Dolphins were losing, you could see Tyreek Hill's chirping on the sideline. And I don't know if Mike McDaniel's the guy. I really don't. I think he's probably a brilliant schemer, a good football mind. But you know what? He sure ain't Dan Campbell. And he sure ain't Sean McVay. Sure ain't Sean Payton, right? Sure ain't Mike Tomlin. Sure ain't a Harbaugh. Sure ain't one of those guys that says, you ain't doing this. You're gone. I really don't care. But you can't do it now because you sold your soul. A lot of things to think about there. Okay, watching the games on Saturday and Sunday, I look at the Ravens and Lions and I see 2 different teams with different causes, right? The Lions, because of everything they were going through, they were afraid to take their foot off the accelerator in an injury-riddled 15-2 season. So I understand why they kept playing. And they had a lot to play for because the Vikings were chasing them, the Eagles were chasing them, and it's like, you know what? This is just who we are. This is what we keep doing. The Ravens, on the other hand, had everything wrapped up, and they were blowing out a horrible Browns team on Saturday. And then they chose to leave Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the game, getting touches and taking hits in the 4th quarter in a, 38-10 game? What were they? I respect Jim Harbaugh or John Harbaugh, but what were they thinking? What were they thinking? And then you saw Rashad Bateman take a hit. He did come back in. You saw Zay Flowers go out with a knee injury. Now I think he's declared day-to-day. But what were you thinking after Zay Flowers goes down? What play did they call? What does Todd Monk call? Calls a quarterback draw with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson goes down, and it is church. It is over for the Ravens, right? And then we got a whole nother year going by where it's everybody's fault, right? And let's remember this. Lamar Jackson came in the league in 2018. This is his 7th year. And I know he hasn't been injured for a while. He does a good job not taking too many hits, but he still takes hits. He's a better passer now than he was before. He's not an elite passer, but he's a better passer. this is it for him in terms of, man, this is good. Because can you get another year out of Derrick Henry like you got, right? And a lot of things fell in their place. 3 new offensive linemen, let alone Ronnie Stanley and Linderbaum. How can you risk that if you're the Ravens? I don't get it. All right, before we go to break here, for the record, I have never worked for FS1. I was never sexually assaulted at FS1. However, I have been offended several times by some of the comments that I hear on FS1, starting with Skip Bayless, Joy Taylor, Shannon Sharp, and some of the Nick Wright, some of the crew that you have on FS1. That was an amazing blow up last night. I filled my Twitter feed and took away all my football content that I used to get on my Twitter feed, and everyone was talking about what happened at FS1. All right, I'm Joe Terosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years. Now I write books and do RamView. And thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law, I get to do FanView, do RamView. They support us. Please check them out if you have a need. And I also write books. My books are available on Amazon. This is my first book. Actually came out 8 years ago. Still the best-selling book I had, called Tangent Dreams. And think Gatsby plays football. And so it was really good. Check it out. And I appreciate the support because it helps keep us on the air. We do not have a Patreon account. We do not have a paywall. It's you guys buying my books and Kistler Law and sponsors like Bench the app. So please check us out. And I do these things because it helps support me in my day job as well, as I pastor a very small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene. And you can see us right here on YouTube at our Burbank Faith Virtual channel. So please sign up there if you're interested. And then Burbank Faith Virtual all across social media. So we do appreciate your guys' support. Let's see if some other questions have come in. ESG, having the Monday game, is this an advantage if you advance? Is a advantage if you advance the next round? I don't know, because then everyone would say it was a short week. You're not going to play on Saturday for sure. I don't mind it because I just want to get out of the first round, right? All I want to do is get out of the first round. If the Rams get out of the first round, that fear of God, that heart's melting of opponents, they're going to say, man, the Rams beat the Vikings again, right? And, I think what we'd want to see, if everything holds true from what I'm looking at, if the Rams beat the Vikings, and let's just say, I don't know, Tampa Bay beats the Texans, and let's just say the Eagles beat the Packers, everything holds form, then the Rams would be going to Detroit in the second round. That one would be a monster game. And then of course, if something happens where the Eagles lose to the Packers, if the Texans beat the Buccaneers, then you could have where the Packers would end up going to Detroit, and the Rams would probably, I think, get would it be the Eagles? I think, I'm not sure, someplace in there. But yeah, it would be pretty interesting. Let's see. Steve Ramirez, Hunt still on the Chiefs. Okay, I thought so. Let's see. Anane, the Lord Jesus Christ took my wife to see Super Bowl 59. Me and my wife are big fans of the Rams, and Jesus and my wife was wearing Rams gear. To God be the glory. Okay, I got no problem. I hope the Lord's a Rams fan. I'm not mocking or anything like that. But thank you. Everything will come to pass in the name of Jesus. All right. Thank you, Anane. Steve Ramirez. The whole FS1 thing ruined my X timeline. Okay, so you too, right? It did it to me exactly. I really don't care about the relationships of TV or movie personalities. Yeah, it's funny that it did. It blew my whole timeline up. Michael Negretti, Pastor Joe, who do you have with the remaining in the college football playoffs? Great show, Jesus Lord. Thank you so much. I'm rooting at this point. I'm rooting for anybody that isn't Ohio State. Right? Like I said, if the Russians were on the field playing football, I'd root for the Russians. Brezhnev carrying the rock, going long to Khrushchev, and Andropov coming off the end for a sack, Gorbachev, kicking the ball. I would root for the Russians against Ohio State. It goes back to the Woody Hayes days. I'm just anti-Ohio State. But with that said, I don't know if I trust Penn State enough. And I definitely don't trust Texas. I'm going to be rooting for Texas. I wouldn't mind seeing Penn State. And this is going to be so awful because I got friends that are diehard USC people, and I've never been a Notre Dame fan, but I am a Marcus Freeman fan. I do like Marcus Freeman. I like the way Riley Leonard is playing. So I would have no problem if Notre Dame won. I love the state of Pennsylvania, so I'd be rooting for Penn State. Texas, I'd like them to beat Ohio State, but I feel like Texas got the benefit of some really lousy calls by the refs in that championship game against USC about 20 years ago. So I can't root for Texas in a title game. But if they're playing Ohio State, I'm rooting for them. There we go. Manuel Vasquez, Darnold looked like the moment was too big for him. The Rams should pressure him the way that Detroit did. Hey, did you think that? I thought that too. I was looking at this and I said, if Detroit can get this pressure with a bunch of third stringers and a bunch of guys they just brought in because everyone's banged up, then the Rams, with everybody healthy, should be able to disrupt. Right? They should. I think the Vikings are more vulnerable than people want to let on. And I know the Darnold story is great. And I don't want anything bad to happen to Sam Darnold. I'm happy for him. But I think the Rams, if that had been Drew Brees, I think if that had been Jared Goff, I think if that had been anybody in that moment, the way Detroit was coming after the quarterback, they would have made life miserable for anybody. And I think the Rams have a shot to replicate that. Anane, thank you, Pastor Joe, for allowing me and my wife to share our testimony. Bring back God, Jesus the glory. Amen. You can always talk God here. It's cool. I do have to keep focus on sports, but you're always welcome to be here. All right, just looking at the playoff teams and everything. Lions are 15-2, and it's like, to me, who's like the Lions? They're unlike any great team I've ever seen, because I've seen great teams with a lot of injuries win and work it out, but I've never seen a great team with a lot of injuries dominate like the Lions have. Eagles are 14-3. I don't trust the Eagles. I just don't, right? Easy to take them over the Packers right now. Some injuries the Packers have, but do you trust Philly? I don't. And I kind of want to see it. I don't want to pay to go to the circus. I don't watch American Idol for the auditions or anything anymore, but I just think the freak show and the meltdown, if Philly lost to Green Bay, would be hilarious, right? Rams are 10-7, not to be taken lightly. Tampa's 10-7. I think that Tampa Texans game is going to be a shootout. But I think the Texans, they're 12-5. I think it might be too soon. I think it just might be too soon. I think Tampa Baker is a little more prepared for this big moment than maybe Jaden Daniels and that surprising Texan team. So I'm leaning Tampa Bay in that game. And the Packers playing Philly, I think they got a chance. I don't think it's a big chance. Steelers have a better chance against the Ravens than the Packers do against Philly. Chiefs, an awful lot like the Lions. They're just a beast. Who is able to make war with them? I think the Bills at 13-4 are under massive pressure. I think they should beat Denver. I think Denver winning and getting into the postseason is already the win, right? That they are 10-7 with a rookie quarterback under all that debt from the Russell Wilson contract. They want to name Sean Payton Coach of the Year. Go ahead and do it. I think it's amazing what they've done, but I think there's a lot of pressure on the Bills. Bills cannot afford this. I think if they lose this, Sean McDermott's in trouble. Ravens 12-5. I don't think it's a good matchup for them against Pittsburgh. Tomlin has nothing to lose. Arthur Smith maybe, but I don't think Tomlin has anything to lose. And I think the Steelers are going to be really dangerous for the Ravens. Texans, they feel like they're hanging by a thread, and they're just waiting for their season to end. So it's a great matchup for the Chargers, right? It's an absolutely great matchup for the Chargers. So there we go. I think I got most of this in. Saturday, Steelers, Ravens, Chargers at the Texans. And then Sunday, you got Broncos at Bills, Packers at Eagles, Texans at the Buccaneers, and then Monday night Vikings at Rams. Both Lions and Chiefs 15-2 have the week off. And then I'm letting Mr. Burns know I finished 11-5 this past week. I only won last year. I picked 180 wins and 92 losses. This year I picked 179 wins and 93 losses. So I'm one down from a year ago. Let's see if we got some Rams history here before we wrap this up. Let's see here. All right, we got it. All right, pulled it out here. No, wrong one. There we go. No. I picked the wrong one, guys. Sorry. Unbelievable. Anyway, so sometimes I push a wrong button too. The kid needs a producer. On this date in 2020, the Rams fired Wade Phillips. And the Rams fired Wade Phillips and went on to Brandon Staley. Born on this day in 1946, turning 78 today. Harold Jackson turns 78 today. So happy birthday to Harold Jackson. Happy 37th birthday to Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh was probably the biggest man I ever stood next to. I was at the Holiday Bowl. I think Nebraska was playing Oklahoma State. Who were they playing? Or Oregon? Somebody. I'm trying to remember who Nebraska was playing. And I was on the field at the end of the game. That's where I had an encounter. Well, I was alongside Aaron Andrews, and I learned something at that moment to Aaron Andrews. But Ndamukong Suh, my goodness, I'd never seen a bigger dude. And he seemed like a generally nice guy. He was a beast on the field, but yeah, he was a nice guy and stuff. But today he turns 37. Also, let's see here. I think that's it. Rams on this day in 1980 won the title game. Frank Corral kicked 3 field goals, got the Rams to their first Super Bowl with a 9-0 win over the Buccaneers. So that one was good. And then I think it was the playoff game in 2017. Rams lost to the Falcons 26-13. That game for me turned when Michael Brockers went out in the second half. Rams couldn't stop the run. Let's see. January 7th, since we're not on, Brian Schottenheimer resigns as the Rams OC after 3 seasons. And who does Jeff Fisher replace him with? The tight ends coach, Rob Boras. Remember how bad that Ram offense was? It was brutal, brutal. Tomorrow, Todd Kitchen. Remember Todd Kitchen? More of a St. Louis Ram. He turns, 55. He's the guy that slugged the goalpost there in St. Louis when he returned a punt. Tomorrow is also the 45th anniversary of the Rams losing the NFC title game to the Cowboys 28-0. And tomorrow is also the 1990 anniversary of the pass to Flipper Anderson that allowed the Rams to beat the Giants 19-13 in overtime. My first real experience of recording a game and then navigating through traffic to Dwayne Barker's house, Mid-Valley Sports, was going to his house after church. He recorded the game, and people were trying to talk to us. Unfortunately, there were no cell phones. We had the radio off, raced to his house so we can see that game, and then avoided phone calls, avoided his parents who came home because we didn't want to be interrupted about that Ram game. There you go. I think we got it. I think we all got it in there. Yeah, we're good. All right. So let's see. We had some other questions come in to wrap this sucker up. Let's see. Michael Negretti, Riley Leonard, a future Rams quarterback. Hey, that'd be a great 3rd round pick, right? If Riley Leonard could drop to the 3rd round, I would go Riley Leonard. I think that would be a great pick. On an A, Coach McVay said to respect everyone but fear no one. Our Rams defense is different this year, and it will show more throughout the playoffs. As long as they get the chance, I agree with you. Tim Burns, Lions aren't squeaking by with the injuries. They are running it up on a playoff teams. No, they're amazing. I've never seen anything like the Lions. I just haven't. Not in this century. I just haven't seen it. Bill, not Bill, ESG, all AFC games on Saturday. Yep, yes, they are. Tim Burns, Steeler fan Robs, you and I outpaced most of the talking heads. Let's see, 175, 179, 190. Yeah, we need a TV show. There we go. I don't know if that would be a pleasant show. I think we'd be yelling at each other the whole time, or just yelling at Steeler fan Rob, right? Okay, guys, I think we got everything in.
It was a stone
groove. And we're coming up to the 50-minute mark. I'll stick around for 1 or 2 more questions if you guys got them. If not, we're going to be back on Saturday. Be sure to check out my column at midvalleysports.com. I'll drop a link in there after we post the show. I'm writing for my friend's website, Mid Valley Sports, just my old column, FanView. Be sure to check that out. And be sure to check us out on Spotify from the RamCave. And we could use your support there. We're just trying to diversify our platform. All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you being here, hanging out. Rams are in the playoffs. Take care.